Now let's watch how Kurzgesagt cooks propaganda for billionaires.
November 2016, Kurzgesagt published a video on the most gruesome parasites. It tells a story of devastating diseases that the world governments couldn't solve, so the big pharma stepped in to be the hero of humanity and save the day. It's one of those too good to be true stories, so I decided to look it up myself, and the real events are nowhere near as glaring for the big pharma as Kurzgesagt presents. Pharmaceutical corporations did donate their medicine to the most affected regions, but they didn't do it out of their own volition or initiative. They did it after decades of neglecting the diseases because they weren't profitable enough to manufacture fixes for them. Bill Gates is actually responsible for much of the neglect. His charitable priorities overemphasized big-name diseases such as malaria, HIV, or tuberculosis, but in the process of doing so, they drew crucial attention and resources away from more common and structural problems, many of which led to outbreaks of other diseases. After the public pressure was too large to ignore, the drug makers decided to join the plan. Big Pharma never came up with this initiative. It was the World Health Organization who had proposed a roadmap to eradicate the diseases by 2020 and convinced governments and NGOs to join them. The pharmaceutical conglomerates never assumed any risk. These corporations took home almost $9 trillion in profits in 18 years, so this little stunt is really just a pocket change for them. This video was paid for by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it so happens that the Gates are heavily invested in many of the pharma companies Kurzgesagt portrays as heroes. They own major holdings in many of the participating companies, and both Bill and Melinda Gates are trustees of two pharma firms. This video isn't positive news, it's a positive PR. Kurzgesagt admitted they wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't paid for by Gates. Okay, what the hell just happened?
Before we continue with this, I have to repeat something that I say all the time. You're probably familiar with this, but all matter of media is oftentimes done at the behest of billionaires because billionaires sit at the tippy top of a system that created them. A system that is supposed to, that a system that is designed for that level of wealth accumulation. Okay? And that's what the media does. The media normalizes the oppression and struggles that you face, make it seem like it's actually normal, make it seem like there's no other type of system, no other type of economic organization of society that could ever be better, okay? It is there to keep you sedated. Now, in the process, do they actually fucking tell you the truth about the news? Of course. Of course. But you always have to have that underlying understanding that the media's ultimate goal is always to normalize capitalism. The media's ultimate goal is to always manufacture consent. Okay? That's it. Kurzgesagt is only unique in the sense that it is a YouTube channel, which is part of the reason why you wouldn't expect it to have biases like that. But of course, those biases could also form as a consequence of growing up and being educated under the banner of neoliberal capitalist democracy being the best form of governance. Okay? Oftentimes, it's a bit of both.
Is the perfect culmination of everything that's wrong with billionaires funding media to get the coverage they need. It provides a whitewashed take on real events, it undeservedly elevates the role of private entities, and gives a marketing boost to their agenda and financial interest. The ultra-wealthy are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into media companies, academic institutions, and governing bodies to rig every step of policymaking in their favor. When billionaires want to open up the markets for their trade, they'll fund media outlets that tell the audience how important investments, innovations, and economic growth are. They'll donate to research that will give them the argument that whatever they decide to do is science. They'll give to political campaigns to get the right candidates elected so that the laws they lobby for are easier to pass. We have identified this to be a problem with all big institutions, and this is what it did to our trust in them. So if it is a problem when billionaires fund our politicians, our journalists, and our academia, is it also a problem when they fund our YouTubers? Because billionaire funding is a lot more prevalent on YouTube than you might think. It's far beyond the scope of this 6-year-old video. I didn't realize I was watching a video sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation because Kurzgesagt didn't reveal this information until the last 20 seconds of the video. I actually first found out about the sponsorship from Kurzgesagt Medium article on how they treat sponsors. Here, Philipp Detmer, the owner of the channel, admitted that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was their biggest supporter. So big, in fact, it helped transform Kurzgesagt into a powerhouse. But Philipp Detmer also told us that Kurzgesagt is almost entirely viewer-funded. I wanted to know where the truth lies, so I went to the foundation's grant database and found this. In November 2015, Kurzgesagt was awarded $570,000 from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for a 49-month-long contract. I wanted to see the full extent of this contract, so I started going through their YouTube videos to see how many were made for the foundation. And that's when I entered a rabbit hole. I was able to identify at least 8 videos Kurzgesagt made for the Gates Foundation. When they were awarded the Gates grant, the Patreon was relatively small, yielding less than $9,000 per month. The money from Gates would cover at least $11,000 per month, or $71,250 per video. So the Gates money alone would be at least on par with their Patreon, but Gates wasn't alone. Throughout my research, I kept discovering more and more billionaire-sponsored videos. It's not just one foundation. It's George Soros, the Templetons, and Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz. They also made a sponsored video for this professor from Oxford University, William MacAskill, who is funded by Open Philanthropy, and Kurzgesagt also received money from Bill Gates' personal blog and venture capitalist funds. From what I was able to find, Kurzgesagt made at least 1 video for Open Society Foundations, at least 3 videos for Templeton World Charity, 3 videos for Bill Gates' blog and Breakthrough Energy, and 1 video for William MacAskill. We know they were awarded $500,000 from the Gates Foundation and almost $6 million from Open Philanthropy. If they kept the same per video rate since the Gates grant, it could be estimated Kurzgesagt received at least $7 million from billionaire funds. This would be more money than Kurzgesagt received from their supporters on Patreon in the entire history of the channel. This made me realize that Kurzgesagt never was this small, independent, almost entirely viewer-funded channel. As soon as the studio incorporated, billionaires began lining up. They transformed the small Munich-based design studio with 5 employees into a multi-million-dollar media powerhouse with dozens of...
Why does it matter? Shouldn't the critique be on the content of the video so they got paid for them? Doesn't seem relevant without a criticism for the video content, right? Yes, no shit. I'm sure this 24-minute video is probably going to address that as well. Here's the thing. I don't know the background of the hated one. I don't know if they're right-wing. I know Charlie watched this. Okay? Ultimately, though, you know, this is no different than fucking Fox News. You know what I mean? And the same thing goes for George Soros as well. Like, these guys have the exact same interest. They have class solidarity. There is no like billionaires don't have politics beyond class politics. There is no left right. They might have like pet projects or whatever. But ultimately, they have one interest, which is to sedate the masses into thinking that the current order is good. Okay? The current way that you exist is good. Ultimately, otherwise you will realize that there's a lot more of you than there are of them. Like a lot more. They might not Kurzgesagt might not make a video straight up saying that like socialism is awful, but they'll make a video about climate change, and then the end note will be, we got to vote. We got to vote for, we got to vote for our leaders and vote our way out of this problem. That's just neoliberal capitalist propaganda regardless. Or talk about how, some kind of carbon reduction policy in the form of cap and trade is actually one of the best policies that you can utilize when it's demonstrably ineffective. They might not even go as far as vote and even say we should just wait for new innovation to pick up the slack. Eventually it will. So they might actually identify issues correctly. Okay? They might actually identify issues correctly, but their solutions will be bullshit. It's a less nefarious or I guess more innocuous way of framing issues in a particular way from YouTube. That's also the reason why a YouTube channel will oftentimes get significantly less funding than major TV networks. Major TV networks are just straight up owned by wealthy oligopoly beneficiaries. I don't see how voting for different legislators that care about climate change is an issue. It's not, but the takeaway still has the exact same sedative because it's not correctly identifying the issue with respect to the profit motive.
Employees. Kurzgesagt was also sponsored by regular commercial businesses such as Brilliant or Skillshare, but neither of these has multi-billion-dollar investments in global industries, and they aren't spending millions in political lobbies trying to influence lawmaking. And most importantly, they don't fund the sources that Kurzgesagt uses for the research. And what the hell is going on with Kurzgesagt research? Kurzgesagt told us their research is impartial and fact-checked by scientists to ensure integrity. But my skepticism alarms were already buzzing out of their asses, so I started looking at their sources and noticed something odd. Many of their videos rely primarily on a single publication. This publication is a partner of the channel and they help them with research and provide numbers for their scripts. This publication appears so frequently in their sources, their website is quoted up to dozens of times in a single document. This research publication is not some independent group of scientists just sharing their hard science for free. It is our rolled in data, heavily funded by Bill Gates and other billionaires, many of which have also sponsored Kurzgesagt videos. The publication
oh God, I already saw something that I fucking despise.
Which have also
the Center for Effective Altruism Meta Fund. Okay. I mean, I utilize our world in data too. Not saying that the shit on there is fake, but like, effective altruism is Sam Bankman-Fried. For those of you who don't know, is what all these fucking Silicon Valley geeks and freaks believe. It's just the way to justify their level of wealth accumulation by saying, "Oh no, I know better." It's the age-old conservative rhetoric around small government, eviscerating government, so that and starving the government, bankrupting it, so that like it's just philanthropy that actually patches the patchwork of solutions necessary for survival. Why? Because I know better. I'm rich. Trust me, I got rich because I'm smart, because I deserve it, because this is a meritocratic process. So obviously, I know better on how to spend money than the government does, because the government is bloated. Okay? Isn't that the core of neoliberalism? Yes, it is. You are far away from smart man. Brother, I think you genuinely misunderstood what I was saying. I'm not saying I am rich, that's why I know better. I'm saying this is what effective altruism is, and people who believe in it. Do you think it'd be unethical to watch the content knowing this? What? No. No. I mean, unethical to watch content. Like, what ethics are around watching content? You can watch things you disagree with. You can watch things you agree with. You don't have to 100% agree with things that you watch. There is no left or right to watching content. There is no ethics to content consumption. That's just like liberal brain rot. We watch a shitload of right-wing content on here, like every day, all day. That was the other side of why I was so upset about people being like, dude, you cannot even review Hogwarts Legacy. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay. Good one. There you go. Immediately said child pornography. Just eviscerate that guy. Just laser his brain. That dude needs a lobotomy. Straight up.
Sponsored Kurzgesagt videos.
FBI right there. This guy right there.
$4.8 million from the Gates Foundation alone, but they were also funded by Open Philanthropy, Templeton, and William McCaskill. All of these entities had their series of sponsored videos at their Kurzgesagt channel. Their partnership with Our World in Data was initiated by the grant from the Gates Foundation through the first video on overpopulation, made in collaboration with Max Roser, the founder and lead scientist of Our World in Data. Following this money trail led me to discover that the data in Kurzgesagt videos isn't such a rock-solid science as they authoritatively present in their videos. Many of the numbers from Our World in Data Kurzgesagt relies on so much are complete garbage. In the videos on overpopulation, they show this amazing decline in global poverty, a trend which they attribute to economic growth. But where is this data coming from? It's from Max Roser graph at Our World in Data. But look at how the data points go all the way back to the early 19th century. None of these historical numbers are proven. Real data on poverty for the majority of the world didn't exist until 1981. Anything before that is a speculation. And who defines extreme poverty? The World Bank does. How? By calculating the lowest possible rate as an average from poverty lines of the poorest countries in the world. That's living below $1.90 a day. Scholars strongly disagree with this rate and suggest
abso-fucking-lutely yes. This video is cooking, dude. Holy shit, I'm glad Charlie and I'm glad Moist Critical and XQC watched this video. Okay, this is 100% yes. This is a very good video.
Suggest at least $7.40 a day. With the World Bank's rate, billions of people that are extremely poor.
Two things have contributed to the #1 thing that neoliberals love pointing to whenever they fucking say capitalism has eviscerated extreme poverty. #1 is China. Okay, China, #1. #2 is this. Is the little game they play with what they consider to be extreme poverty. Just, you know, change the numbers up a little bit, and all of a sudden, poof, global poverty has been eradicated. Exactly. Moist disagree with mostly anything in that video? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize that he disagreed with everything in the video, but whatever.
According to their national
I hope some of his fans took a better
income regions, which is what makes the graph
more understanding
like
approach to this.
Instead of this if we use the $7.40 line, or this if we leave out China. So not a dramatic decline at all, but an increase actually, or a stagnation at best, since 1981. There's also half of the world's population suffering from hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition, more than 40 million modern slaves, and the ever-widening income gap between the richest and the poor. So really,
what you're seeing here, by the way, the global north versus the global south, income USD per capita, that gap widening all the fucking time is also identical to the very same gap widening between those who have and those who do not have in the United States of America. Even in the global north, when you look at income and wealth disparity, that gap is nearly identical. That the numbers are a little different, obviously, but that's just how it fucking works. Because one cannot exist without the other. Where was the last guy you clapped? I want to know what he had to say. It seemed like he was cooking.
Really hard to come to an optimistic.
It trickles down though. Yeah. Like my cummies trickled down to your mom, dude. What the fuck do you mean it trickles down? What has trickled down? Are you a feminist hater or a blind man protector? There's no middle ground. You either are or aware of your life or you're a men excuser, and don't come at me with men victim too. When you know who the problem is. Oh, okay. I'm glad you banned this person. They're just fucking insane. My man said trickle down exists. Where has it existed? Trickle down is just a justification, a false and disproven, consistently disproven justification for neoliberal economics. We already know that it doesn't exist. That's crazy. We're living in 2023, chatter. This isn't like 1987. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? I was joking. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Conclusion that poverty is somehow on the decline. But it is a conclusion touted by Bill Gates, who also paid for this video to be made.
As the economist Max Roser has said,
the world has done quite well on this.
The newspapers could have run a headline.
The lives of the poor will improve more in the next 15 years than at any other time in history.
The lives of the global south and people living in the global north as well will be improved marginally as a consequence of technological achievements. This does not mean that they are being improved evenly, And this does not mean that their lives are being improved overall. Okay? Just because someone now has like your hand-me-down shit, okay, and they're following the technological improvements 15 years in the past, does not change the reality that their relative wealth in relation to your relative wealth is devastatingly unequal.
Number of people in poverty fell by 137,000 since yesterday.
Comes out as what for many people will be a stunningly positive story.
Many videos made in partnership with Our World in Data can be dissected like this. Look at the numbers on historical emissions from the video on who is responsible for climate change. Where are these numbers coming from? Our World in Data, of course, but that's just one source that conveniently downplays the role of the developed countries in climate change. According to a paper from Lancet, funded by no one, the US is responsible not for 25% of emissions, but 40%.
Yeah.
The EU is responsible for 29% instead of 22%. G8 emitted 85% of historical CO2, and the global north is accountable for 92% of excess carbon in the atmosphere. These numbers draw a much less equitable share of responsibility than Kurzgesagt. As I was analyzing more and more videos, I actually discovered a plot I did not expect to find. In a couple of separate videos on climate change, Kurzgesagt briefly mentions seemingly random selection of innovations.
Or a new generation of nuclear power plants to new batteries, electronics and steel, low carbon production of cement, artificial meat, carbon capture, direct air capture, and carbon capture.
This study came out after Kurzgesagt's video, to be fair. Oh, the Lancet one that he used? Okay. Regardless, though, I think that disparity, I'm sure there's plenty of fucking studies that show that the disparity in which like the first world utilizes energy consumption and has a tremendous amount of carbon footprint in comparison relative to all the other developing nations is like there were plenty of studies before then. I remember watching this shit. No, I remember watching that video and if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure I criticized it, did I not? I was never this skeptical of the videos that they produce, and I love the ones that they do about aliens, especially. But those aren't really funded by Bill Gates and whatnot. But I do remember at the time when I was watching it as a Kurz enjoyer, I had some issues with the way that they covered climate change. No, their alien videos, like the Fermi paradox and shit like that, is actually very good. Maybe because I agree with it, but also because like it's just like basic concepts, you know what I mean? Unless it's funded by Mark Zuckerberg, who is definitely an alien and trying to make us seem like aliens are not already here. Oh, God.
There doesn't seem to be any objective merit as to why I mentioned these in particular, but they do have in common two things. Bill Gates has invested millions into startups developing low-carbon cement, steel, batteries, alternative meat, nuclear energy, and carbon capture. And none of these technologies have proven to be commercially viable or scalable enough to make them count. The innovations lack robust scientific backing, and experts do not agree relying on them is a valid strategy. Many videos on topics that align with the interest.
By the way, this is another fundamental component of effective altruism is like kick the can down the line, let you just consume, and let the future sort it out. This is where effective altruists actually basically create a symbiotic relationship with just out and about right-wingers. Jordan Peterson, who is funded by the oil and gas industry, literally 100%, by the way. This is like verifiably true. Demonstrably true if you listen to what he has to say about like the logging industry or whatever the fuck about renewable energy, but like also 100% funded by oil and gas billionaires who literally repeat their propaganda regularly. He always says the same exact thing that you hear from effective altruists, which is that in the future we need to keep developing, and then eventually. In the future, we'll find a solution for our carbon footprint. Jordan Peterson and a lot of these like supposedly neoliberal billionaires, of course, disagree. Jordan Peterson also claims that climate change is like not all that big of a deal. These guys say climate change is a big deal, but we will find a solution through technology, through technological improvements. Now, do I believe that we could? Yes, I do. But if you ask the scientists, the actual people who have spent their entire lives researching anthropogenic climate change and its devastating impact on humanity, they don't believe that we have enough time to make this gamble, and instead we should start taking preventative measures. Okay? So that's the point. Anything that moves away from like genuine preventative measures, and I'm not talking about fucking cap and trade. I'm not talking about like carbon, the carbon credit schemes that the American government utilizes. I'm talking straight up hyper focusing on renewable energy and slowly but surely moving away from fossil fuels. Thought you would like to know this. Second lab-grown chicken product cleared for human consumption by U.S. regulator. I fucking doubt that it tastes good. But if it does, I'm excited.
Of Kurzgesagt billionaire sponsors are frequently sprinkled with messaging about how investments and innovations will solve a problem or make the world a better place.
By investing in these things right now, investment and aid and fair investment. Is investment massive investment as investment pours in?
It's obnoxious how often this happens.
We invest in innovation that lead to innovation, the nature of innovation. And innovation, but innovation, the more time we give innovation, and innovations like artificial meat.
The standards for quality of such data is profoundly lowered in order to make these hidden injections work. In the instance of carbon capture, Kurzgesagt pulled the numbers on cost straight from a Gates-funded magazine, who took the number from a Gates-funded private carbon capture facility. But that's the low.
And then, yeah, okay. This part is pretty much every fucking facet of media. Newsflash, whenever you're to fucking study, it always goes down this exact same multi-layered scheme that will oftentimes go back to a specific like billionaire funded or millionaire corporation funded research facility. This is something that is done all the fucking time. By the way, sometimes it doesn't even mean that the information or the data is wrong, for the record. Okay? Just understand that. I'm not saying that this data is wrong. It is just an unfortunate systemic problem. It is what it is. Now, there are instances where I can tell you it's wrong because I know some of the think tanks, for example, that fund this kind of research and why they're funding it, right? If I see something from the American Enterprise Institute, I can tell you immediately, oh, no, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit study, 100%. So you have to always be aware of the biases of what people are telling you, okay? What is the bias or the underlying reason as to why this information is in front of you, okay? What are the interests of the think tanks that decided to facilitate a research like this? Okay? Recognize that.
Lowest estimate. In reality, it could be as much as twice as expensive today, and still at least twice as expensive as trees are right now, than carbon capture is projected to be in the most optimistic estimates, which won't be real until at least the next decade. Rather than solving the climate crisis, many scientists argue such investments divert attention away from more impactful solutions and delay phasing out of modern industrial methods and fossil fuel dependence. Kurzgesagt doesn't tell you which technologies Bill Gates is invested in and how positive messaging about them is advancing his positions. But Kurzgesagt did take the effort to mention exactly those technologies that Bill Gates and his billionaire friends are most invested in. There is a pattern that can explain why Kurzgesagt videos are like this. In many videos that coincide with Bill Gates' interests, they collaborate with our world in data or prioritize their content on these issues. In their video on Do We Need Nuclear Energy to Stop Climate Change, Kurzgesagt prominently links to Our World in Data's pieces on nuclear energy. This video is not sponsored by Gates, but the billionaire is betting heavily on his new generation of nuclear reactors. Kurzgesagt's source document links to Our World in Data 27 times, or about every third reference. Kurzgesagt made videos heavily criticizing organic food. This is another topic of major investment from Gates, who thinks industrialized agriculture with pesticides and GMOs is the best approach to solving world hunger, which it hasn't solved so far. In all four cases.
Yeah, I mean, the real solution to world hunger is abolishing the profit motive. Like, I'm sorry not to come across like I'm teetering on the edge of the top of the hour ad break or the edge of socialism, but it's just like we already produce an abundance of food. It's a logistics problem. Okay? Top of the hour ad break, however, not a logistics problem. Very easy solution for you. Here's the ad break now. You can't say that GMOs don't help when it comes to famine caused by environment or disease. No. I'm not anti-GMO. Rainy draws a lot. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. No. You're misunderstanding me. I don't have it. We just looked at a fucking lab-grown meat, brother. Like, I'm fucking in favor of all matter of technological developments in food production. Okay? I'm simply stating that hyper-focusing on exclusively GMOs and shit like that moves the problem away from the real issue. The real issue being logistics. Okay? The real issue is always logistics. Every single issue that we have in society right now. Homelessness? Well, we have more homes than we have homeless people. How's that for simple science? Fuck do you mean? We have more homes than we have homeless people. Why are there homeless people? You know, we have more people dying of famine in a global economy where we have an abundance of food. We have solved, like I said, technological achievements have solved so many of the problems that existed in like the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, and onwards. And yet, for some reason, the very same issues still persist in present society. Why? Because someone has to make money. Okay? That's it. It was not a capitalism problem. It's just a logistics problem, Cap. Exactly. Wait, we have more empty homes than we have homeless people?
Cases where Kurzgesagt draws verdict on
like a lot more.
Food. Our world in data is cited as reference. This video is also not sponsored by Gates. The most generous billionaire is one of the earliest backers of alternative meats, owning major positions in vegan and meat-free protein companies. Kurzgesagt has made a series of videos on meat, all with a strong verdict on how meat is bad for you and the environment. All of these videos were advised on by Hannah Ritchie, one of the key lieutenants at Our World in Data. During the production of at least one video, Ritchie was a business manager at a meat-free microprotein company. Whatever your take on meat is, these are conflicts of interest that should normally be disclosed by any serious research. But Kurzgesagt makes no effort to help you connect the dots. Kurzgesagt is terrible at disclosing their sponsors. I did a poll of my audience to see when they think channels should disclaim sponsorship. Most people would prefer before the video starts or during intro. Kurzgesagt never reveals their sponsors until the very end of their videos. Some sponsors were declared in the last few seconds of the video, some were only mentioned in the text on screen, and in at least one instance, the only disclaimer of sponsorship was in the description. This is a low bar even for YouTube. Plenty of good educational creators disclose their sponsors up front. Why should Kurzgesagt be given a pass? Most people who...
Okay, this guy might be a bit of a... At the very least, a sock them, because I saw plenty of good channels, and immediately I saw Not Just Bikes.
Declared in the last few seconds of the video, some were only mentioned in the text on screen, and in at least one instance, the only disclaimer of sponsorship was in the description.
Did he put second thought in there?
This is a low bar even for YouTube. Plenty of good educational...
Oh yeah, he put second thought in there? Okay, never mind. This channel in and of itself is...
Creators disclose their sponsors up front.
Nah, this is nitpicking? No, I think that... What? No, I don't think that's nitpicking at all. Wait, what do you mean? Okay, there is a proper decorum or proper guideline that mainstream media has when disclosing their sponsorships. NPR, for example, will always mention it. They always put it somewhere that is like very noticeable. Always. If they have a conflict of interest, if they have like Facebook, for example, he means I'm nitpicking? No, I'm nitpicking in a positive way. I'm saying that this guy's like leaving little clues that he might be a bit of a leftist. I still don't know how meat consumption or whatever still contributes to global warming. Meat consumption absolutely contributes to global warming because we raise cattle specifically with the purpose of like killing the cattle and eating the cattle. And they fart a lot. What? How? It's like pretty basic stuff. Yeah, no, 100%. They destroy ecosystems. They fart a lot. They ruin fucking natural water supply. There's a litany of issues that come from agricultural production.
Why should Kurzgesagt be given a pass? Most people who do not watch videos till the very last second, or who cannot read everything that's on the screen, would never be aware of the extent to which Kurzgesagt videos are sponsored by billionaires. Kurzgesagt also does a terrible job at explaining who their sponsors actually are.
This video is part of a series about climate change supported by Breakthrough Energy.
In their climate change video sponsored by Breakthrough Energy, you're told it is just
A coalition founded by Bill Gates that's working to expand clean energy investment and support the innovations that will lead the world to net zero carbon emissions.
But they don't tell you that Breakthrough Energy is a bunch of venture capitalist funds where billionaires stand to make huge profits from adoption of technologies they invest their billions into. Kurzgesagt left a link in the description that leads.
This video is doing a wonderful job of basically saying that the main problem is capitalism without saying the main problem is capitalism, but basically instilling that skepticism in venture capital instead of saying capitalism. Because a lot of you who do still, no matter what happens, love capitalism will look at this and go, well, who cares if it's like VC backed? It's ultimately doing a good thing. Not realizing that like venture capitalists in general do not care about the saving of the environment. They care about the profit motive. That's it. Therefore, it's understandable that they are not really in the game to immediately stop, or at least as manageably as possible, roll back some of the most devastating impacts of anthropogenic climate change. Anthropogenic contributions to climate change.
To Gates' book sale, but not the fund's official website. YouTube has a policy that flags channels funded by governments with a label that informs viewers of this financial conflict. This was enacted with the aim of combating government misinformation on the platform. You can see this on Kurzgesagt German channel that is backed by the government, and YouTube labels it as a German PBS. This same standard should be applied to private funding too. There should be a label that cannot be arbitrarily set or removed by the creator that discloses upfront who is funding their videos. Media consolidation is a major threat to diversity of views, and billionaires, including the ones funding Kurzgesagt, are the main driver behind this trend. It is not enough to promise editorial independence, because there are multiple ways sponsors can influence content behind the scenes. Kurzgesagt maintains their sponsors never have input on their scripts, but in practice, they routinely consult with researchers that come from sponsor-funded institutions or scientists directly on their sponsors' payroll. The two videos Kurzgesagt made with Max Roser were sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But Max Roser's Our World in Data received almost $5 million from Bill Gates, so what is exactly the degree of separation here? In the video on vaccine side effects, Kurzgesagt lists 6 experts they consulted with, at least 4 of which are from Gates-funded institutions, and 1 scientist is an executive at the Gates Foundation. How is that not a sponsor commenting on their script? In 3 videos Kurzgesagt made for the Templeton World Charity, at least 4 out of 6 scientists have received direct funding for the research from Templeton. In the Kurzgesagt video on long-termism, The Last Human, sponsored by Open Philanthropy, 2 out of 3 scientists are from the Oxford's Future of Humanity Institute. The institute, which received at least £15 million from Open Philanthropy. The one LMU Munich scientist was also at Oxford during the Open Philanthropy grants. There is no disclaimer of any of these associations anywhere in Kurzgesagt materials. Another long-termist video, the one on the civilizational collapse, was sponsored and researched by William MacAskill. Seemingly a random professor from Oxford University, MacAskill is behind the Center of Effective Altruism and a number of other charities that have received funding from Open Philanthropy, and some have funded Our World in Data. Nothing about this relationship is ever disclosed in Kurzgesagt's source.
What is that video? I don't think I've ever actually watched that. Have I? Wait.
And a number of other charities that have received.
Was there ever communism before Marx in all of history? Haha. Interesting question, my friend. Yes, it's called primitive accumulation, primitive communism. But that's besides the point. You should read Marx. He talks about it.
Funding from Open Philanthropy, and some have funded Our World in Data. nothing about this relationship.
Is civilization on the brink of collapse? Did I watch this? I don't think I watched this.
Is ever disclosed in Kurzgesagt source materials. Open Philanthropy has given Kurzgesagt more than 5 million euros to expand the channel into foreign languages and to promote long-termist philosophy and effective altruism in their videos. Do you think money doesn't buy influence? So billionaires do political lobbying and campaign financing for the lols? And
yeah, no, they do it out of the kindness of their heart. Shut up, dude. You don't understand. Duh. They do it because they're magnanimous. Of course, and this is something I told Charlie Kirk all the way back in like 2018, or maybe it was 2016. I can't remember. One of the times that I debated him on stage at Politicon. If billionaires were so magnanimous, perhaps they would give a fairer distribution of profits that they steal from their workers back to the workers. If billionaires were so magnanimous, they would perhaps give more back to the federal government by paying an adequate amount of taxes. But they're not. They're not.
Don't get any laws influenced in their favor? Do billionaires buy newspapers and donate to media companies to support independent journalism? Think of what happened to the COVID-19 vaccine developed by the University of Oxford. Researchers originally planned to release their vaccine patent for free so that third world countries could manufacture their doses faster instead of waiting for the rich countries to donate the vaccines to them. Until Bill Gates stepped in and forced the university to partner with a manufacturer and not release their patents. Against the pleas of the WHO and the developing world that patents would stifle vaccine access, Gates used his $750 million leverage to change a university's course.
That was one of the most evil things that a person, like a singular individual, can do. Okay? One of the most evil things. And he didn't even do it for profit for the vaccine or anything like that. He did it for the love of the game. Understand one thing, okay? That's what makes it even worse, because he wasn't directly supposed to profit from that. What he profits from is patents. If we make an argument that international collaboration and the abolition of patents is objectively good, that it's inherently a utilitarian act of kindness, then all of a sudden people could ask the same thing about Microsoft, and that will make Bill Gates pee-pee Microsoft instead of patents remaining in the way that they are, intellectual property remaining the way it is, making Bill Gates pee-pee macro hard. Okay? That's it. That's why he did that shit. That's what makes it so much worse. That like he wasn't even directly profiting from that shit. That's why so many fucking there were articles written at the time about like how we shouldn't abolish the patents for vaccines internationally because like people could steal from the research. And it's like, steal from the research? The fuck do you mean, brother? Steal from what? You're talking about cancer research, you know what I mean? Oh, well, actually the delivery mechanism for the mRNA vaccines are going to be really good in like cancer treatment in the future. It's like, you want to paywall medicine. You're crazy. You're a bad guy. You're a fucking bad guy. I think the argument was about quality control. Yeah, no, that's the PR argument, okay? It was not about quality control. How fucking disingenuous was that, by the way? I don't even fault you for falling for that, okay? Well, you said it was stupid. But that's what they said. They said, oh, India can't produce these vaccines on their own. We need to make sure that there's quality control. Motherfucker, India produced 75% of all vaccines distributed globally, dude. Get the fuck out of here with this quality control bullshit. Not saying that to the chatter. I'm saying that to Bill Gates. It was a disingenuous and, dare I say, fucking racist argument, okay? Bill Gates is not connected to effective altruism. He criticized effective altruism promotes rising taxes. Rutger Bregman said that. Okay, I don't care if Bill Gates is personally connected to effective altruism or not. He's still a fucking demon. What do you mean? We're literally talking about how he's a demon right here. He doesn't have to be. Every one of them can have their own seasoning of ethics, okay? It's still inherently unethical. I'm actually happy that Chatter brought up quality control. I fucking railed into Billy Bob so much back then. I totally fucking forgot about the dumbass arguments that he put forward. Oh my Lord.
He did this to protect the interests of big pharmaceutical companies he has been investing in for decades.
I don't even think it was because of that, by the way. I think it's more nefarious than that. There was a reason why companies and billionaires that would benefit from mass vaccination, mass inoculation campaigns so they can get everyone in the workforce back to work immediately, literally still stood in front of international IPs, intellectual property rights, being waived for this fucking vaccine. Why? Because they themselves benefit from intellectual property rights. They themselves benefit from patents. That's why. Their mode of revenue generation revolves around the protection and maintenance of patents. If they were to abolish that, if they were to blow that shit up, if people were to even say, wait a minute, why don't we are witnessing Hasan's anti-vaxxer character arc live? Bro, did you not understand? It's the opposite. I'm saying I want everyone to be inoculated. I want mass vaccines to be distributed to people. Standing in front of that and stopping that from happening only because your profit margins might be in the future diminished as a consequence of like people making an argument to abolish IP for other sectors is the exact opposite of what you think I'm saying. I'm saying vaccine good. I'm saying IP bad, vaccine good. Breaking the patent opens a precedent. Same idea with the moral hazard argument. Yep. I think personally it is mind-boggling that we have paywalled healthcare. Like even in medicine, it is so crazy. Making medicine is expensive though. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Shouldn't be as expensive as it is, but how could we do that when the workforce is saddled with debt and billionaires are so invested? What the fuck do you mean making medicine is expensive? No, the fuck, it's not. It's not. What are you talking about? It is not. It is not expensive at all. Look at what happens to medication when generics can be made. When the patent has lived out its entire lifetime and then all of a sudden it's cheap. How the fuck did that happen? Wait a minute. I don't understand. No, making medication is really expensive. ROI on free medicine is crazy. Insulin companies gonna go bankrupt. I want them to. He meant making the research, not manufacturing medicine. Yeah, wait till you find out how medicine is researched. Wait till you find out what private corporations do once they fucking sit on an IP, once they sit on a patent to medication. Novel chemical compounds are found in higher frequency under publicly funded medical research than privately funded medical research. Even if it's founded under privately funded facilities, those facilities are still also operating under the same fucking guidelines that publicly funded research facilities are operating under. Okay? Novel chemical compounds are still founded. They're still found, not founded, sorry, in publicly funded facilities at a higher rate. Do not forget this. The overwhelming majority of funds that private facilities, or not private facilities, but like pharmaceutical companies utilize most of their funds not on novel chemical compound development, but instead on marketing or distribution mechanisms. What does that mean? Oh, well, we switched a little different part of this fucking drug that you were using, okay? Which means now we have to extend the patent. We have to extend the patent for another 7 fucking years. That's it. That's all they do.
Which resulted in the global vaccine apartheid and possibly millions of preventable deaths. Money buys influence. It buys it in politics, it buys it in science, it gets you favorable coverage in the media. Gates poured $300 million into
Oh, come on, bro. He put fucking mint press in here. You motherfucker said he's a libertarian or whatever, but like, that's mint press, dude. Are you kidding me? That's Alan.
Gates.
He put a fucking Alan MacLeod article on here. There's no shot that this dude is not a leftist. Are you kidding me? What the fuck?
Poured $300 million into media companies, Kurzgesagt being one of them. Ask yourself, when was the last time you read a critical piece on Gates or his foundation?
I don't know how to say his last name. Shut up.
If Kurzgesagt wants to maintain they are able to decouple the interests of their funding source from the content in their videos, does this mean that we'll soon get to see a cutely animated character of Bill Gates meeting up with Jeffrey Epstein at his private venues after he was convicted sex trafficker?
Science is more than a body of knowledge.
When big money buys big influence, science is always the casualty.
If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority,
it becomes less diverse, more stringent, and more authoritative.
Then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along.
In the academic community, there is a phenomenon called the chilling effect. It occurs when scientists self-censor or refuse to speak out against the funding source of their institutions out of fear of losing support or getting sacked. With the Gates Foundation, they refer to it as the Bill Chill. Gates' funding priorities have worried scientists for stifling diversity of views for decades. His philanthropic funding made it difficult to find independent reviewers. Through his multi-billion-dollar empire of donations and investments, Gates amassed enough power to single-handedly influence policies of global and national governing bodies. When Gates Foundation pours money into a project, they end up having enough power to veto public policies that don't align with their charity's priorities. We need to have a serious debate. Is big money lobbying a problem only if it's for issues we don't like? Or is it a problem on principle? This is how Kurzgesagt views the fossil fuel lobbyists, as evil villains trying to influence our politicians and mislead the public with their money. Kurzgesagt clearly understands the problem of big money, but they don't seem to have a problem with when they are on the receiving end of the big money influencing policies and public opinion. Billionaires have hacked the system by which we measure the merits of arguments.
Hasan, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Why don't you just give up? Like, I get you want to make more people leftists, but what's the point? The oligarchs already have a system basically fucked. Like, what the fuck is the point in educating people when there's no revolutionary potential anymore? That's dumb. That's silly. That's stupid. Okay? Don't be a fucking doomer. Society can only prosper when old men plant seeds for trees they will never sit in the shade of. Okay? Come on. Come on. Doesn't matter. You might not see positive change in your lifetime. You might not see positive change in your children's lifetime, but ultimately you're doing the right thing because your cause is just and you believe that you are setting a better future for the next generation and the generation after that. What if we don't even get to the next generation? You don't know that. Someday you'll get that quote right, but close. I think I paraphrase it, but I think I do a decent job of paraphrasing it, so fuck you. Ay amına koyayım. Geldin yemeği yedin, siktirin gittin ha? Hadi eyvallah. Anyway, it does not matter. It's easy to feel doomer. It's easy to feel nihilistic. It's easy to feel pessimistic. It's easy to feel like, you know, the world's never going to get better. But you do the right thing, and you will get a lot of emotional fulfillment out of that anyway. Because you're not doing it because you're going to have immediate tangible results. There might be things that you do, short-term goals that you achieve, that might actually make you feel better, okay? You might actually get producible, easily definable short-term results. Like, let's say you organize your workplace. That's a example I can use, right? You can get some tangible results in your community. But ultimately, even if you don't get that, the reason why you're pushing for this is because your cause is just, is because you are doing the right thing and it makes you feel good. That's it.
In science and public discourse. With the sheer wealth, they brute force their ideas into the mainstream by giving their interests more funding for research, more coverage in the media, and higher likelihood of becoming a public policy. This system is beyond broken, especially for a studio as big as Kurzgesagt. Back in 2017...
Oh, the last thing I was going to say is, and I don't want to fuck this up, there are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. Rare Hasan lying. Dude, that's inspiring and sad. I'm rock solid in my political position, don't get me wrong, but it is sad. It doesn't matter. You don't know. You don't know what happens. You don't know.
Kurzgesagt admitted in their Medium article they would actually be able to do away with sponsors altogether and rely on their Patreon supporters, ad revenue, and merch. They also have a design studio branch that makes commission work for big-name clients. So why haven't the channel got rid of sponsors yet? They are already funded by the German state, and they sold courses on Brilliant and Skillshare. Why not maintain integrity?
You can afford to make less, make less.
By the very least, Kurzgesagt should be more transparent and disclose sponsorship at the beginning of their videos so that people can make the decision before they watch the video and not afterwards. But transparency alone would not fix the conflict of interest and perverse incentives. Journalists, educators, and media outlets should not take money from entities they are supposed to be critically covering.
Damn, why'd he put our boy there, dude? World Economic Forum's very own bravest warrior, the Fedayeen himself, dude. The Fedayeen, dog. Johnny motherfucking Harris right there, dude. What? Agent Johnny. Okay, I joke. I don't know if he's CIA or not. I know he did a response to me titling my YouTube video, "Is Johnny Harris CIA?" Okay? Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's CIA. I don't know. He made a video on you. Ha ha ha. Who? Johnny? Friend of the show, Johnny, did not make a video on me. He just made a short, like, response, like a YouTube short. I don't think priming audiences with information before giving them info to be objective about is intentionally disingenuous or outright dumb. Yeah, he did this. This was...
Will be popular. You're gonna be popular.
He didn't say no, though. I mean, he's playing along with it. He's not like, what the fuck? Oops, sorry, Johnny. We got to get you into witness protection. Wait a minute. C-Max says, I still like Johnny. Don't care what anyone says. Yeah, because you're Belgian. It's an entire fake nation of like literally loving the CIA, designed around loving the CIA and international Western hegemonic superpowers congregate literally in the fake nation of Belgium. Not even a real country.